Terror groups are becoming very social media savvy, making it very easy to spread their message all across the globe.
And now ISIS claiming they have more than 70 trained soldiers in 15 states here in the United States. They say one of them is Michigan. Joining us now is Andy Arena, the former head of the FBI Detroit office. Andy, thank you so much for being with us tonight. How credible do you think that threat is?
Well, it's really difficult to understand how credible this is, but you've got to take it seriously. They are very adept. ISIS is very adept at using social media and the internet to recruit, to get these people to actually do these actions. So it's a threat we have to take very seriously.
Okay, so Andy, you take it seriously, but what do? Do you try to root these people out based on their social media posts, or do you use more typical law enforcement techniques of informants and so forth and try to figure out who they are and where they are?
Well, listen, monitoring social media is almost impossible to do. First of all, there's legal obstacles. The FBI cannot go on fishing expeditions, so they have to have some reasonable suspicion that an individual is involved in wrongdoing to even be looking at their stuff. So that's the first hurdle you get into. And obviously the internet and social media is so vast. I mean, how do you police the whole system? It's very difficult.
You know, I want to ask you too just about a story that we just reported on moments ago. The NSA no longer able to collect phone records according to a court, saying that it was illegal and beyond the scope of the Patriot Act. Does that make things more difficult in this war on terror, Andy?
It definitely does, Joanne. I teach a class on this at Cooley Law School, and it's going to be very difficult for the U.S. government to track this stuff. I mean, that was one of the major tools they were using.
So how do we balance the rights of the citizens who are honest and law-abiding against those who intend us harm?
Well, Steve, that's the most difficult thing we face, you know, balancing the right to privacy versus the national security of this country. I mean, that's something that the FBI and the federal government is doing every day. It is a balancing act. I really personally don't have the answer to that. It's just a lot of hard work. You know, there are a lot of people who traveled over to Syria, to Iraq, have come back here. I mean, obviously those people are under surveillance. The more difficult scenario, though, are these people sitting in the basement looking at this stuff, being recruited, being radicalized and operationalized in their own home.
And that is the real fear here, isn't it, Andy? Because technically, in some cases, these people don't even have to go overseas. You can see people here who are just bent on hurting Americans, and because of social media and because of the internet, they can get the training they need without even going overseas. Is that right?
Joanne, that is the biggest change. You know, when the problem was Al-Qaeda, people went over and they trained in the camps, and you know we were able to track them that way. This is very, very difficult. It's a moving target. Extremely hard to do.
Now the White House is not sounding the alarm on this. They say they don't want to scare anybody. Is that the right plan, to not scare people, or are we also not informing people?
Well, Stephen, I think it is the right thing, because listen, we've been under a threat for the last 14 years. This is no different. The threat, the source of the threat, the method of the threat is the only thing that's changed. Nothing else has changed. I think we still have to do what we've done. We have to live our lives. We have to be vigilant to things around us, and the community really needs to help law enforcement battle this issue. But listen, this is no different than what we've been facing for the last 14 years.
When you heard what went on in Texas with the cartoon contest down there and the shooting down there, Andy, is that the type of thing you think that would be more common in terms of attack if there are other attacks on American soil?
Exactly, Joanne. I think if you look at Al-Qaeda, they were and they still are, fixated on the large-scale 9/11 type attack. I think groups like Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula or ISIS, they get it. They don't have the wherewithal to pull those types of attacks off. But you see the fear that it strikes in society. I mean, onesie, twosies, bombs,
yeah.
You know, going into a mall with firearms, it's just as devastating.
Well, that's what terror is all about, right? Is scaring a society, and that's what they're going after.
A little bit goes a long way.
Yeah.
Andy Arena, former head of the FBI office here in Detroit, thank you very much for your time today.